Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, a podcast devoted to all things in and around the world sporting Kansas City soccer. My name is Drew Vanderploeg. I am joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, it finally happened. After 6 years wandering in the, or 6 years, it felt like 6 years.
It did feel like 6 years.
6 months wandering in the desert. Sporting Kansas City has finally hired a chief soccer officer. David Lee, the current sporting director and chief soccer officer at New York City FC, will become the new president of soccer operations and general manager, chief soccer officer for Sporting Kansas City. And now our watch has ended. We no longer have to sit here and go, who is it going to be? Is it coming? Is it coming soon? Drew, what have you heard? What can you say? Da, 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 blah, 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 blah. It's over. It's done. He is going to be the new chief soccer officer. And I got to be honest, he was not who I expected. I don't think he's who you expected. I don't think he's who anyone expected. No. Given the way that the reaction has come across around the league from most of the pundits around the league, this is a pretty surprising move by Sporting Kansas City. If you look in your podcast feed, you probably see a conversation with myself and Joe Lowry about this decision, so please go listen to that.
Joe Lowry? I never heard of him.
Never heard of that guy, yeah. He and I had a really good 40-minute conversation about it, and I always love Joe's sort of thought process and feedback on things, so I think it's good for everybody to listen to. And sometimes, we can get into our own little world here in Sporting Kansas City land, especially with this podcast, and it's good to get some outside perspective on, and Joe provides a lot of that, and so I really suggest you go listen to that. But Joe's not the only one. Tom Bogert has made some commentary about this. Taylor Twellman, of all people, is making positive comments about this.
Positive.
Well, I mean, with a little jab in there because he's from St. Louis and he acts like a person from St. Louis.
He's a professional journalist, man.
Yeah, a professional journalist.
Capital J.
He's a professional shit stirrer, is what he is.
But what a fucking asshat, man. Come on.
He's fantastic at getting engagement. I will give him that.
Amen.
But Matt Doyle, Andrew Wiebe, just all around the league, this has been fairly well received as a statement of intent by Sporting Kansas City, and we'll get into how all the ways it might be a statement of intent. But David Lee, the former sporting director, or actually still the current sporting director this week, through the end of this week, of New York City FC, has been in that role since 2019, has been the club basically since it's existed in both a kind of a performance analyst and recruitment side of things, technical director, sporting director, and chief soccer officer post Claudio Reyna's exit, and then obviously led that team to an MLS Cup through a fairly tough season in 2023 and sort of rebuilt them into what is now the third place team in the Eastern Conference, which is by far the best conference in the league this year. And NYCFC has been the most successful team in this league over his tenure as chief soccer officer. Like total points, wins, all those things, NYCFC leads all of that. So from a consistency of performance, also at an extremely high level, this is a big get, in my opinion, for Sporting Kansas City. That's not to say that there aren't questions. There aren't going to be concerns about, how he could potentially sort of migrate from the environment that he was in into this role at Sporting Kansas City, where he has much less of a support architecture from City Football Group. But it's still a guy who has a great resume, a lot of experience and understanding of MLS, and is way beyond the experience level that I expected that they would be able to get for this role. So, again, I'm sort of being very positive about the potential of this. We still don't know what he's going to be in the role. We can't say, as I think Joe said when I spoke to him, it sounds like a home run, but you can't say it's a home run because you don't really know for sure how it's going to work out. But still, as far as where this team has come from having Peter Vermees forever, to finally deciding to hire a sporting director and hiring Gavin Wilkinson, to firing Gavin Wilkinson, to 6 months later hiring Mike Burns, who didn't come with the most storied resume of all time, to this, I'm not sure any of us expected this level of candidate being in this role. So I say all that to say, good job, ownership group. Well done. On the face of this looks like a really, really intentional and useful hire into this role. A lot of work left to do.
And ambitious. I think that's like,
Ambitious, of course, by
yep,
both of them, by both sides of this, right?
yeah,
Like David Lee's showing
100%.
some ambition in this too by basically doing a lateral move from a team that is very good to a team that is not very good,
Yeah.
but also having the opportunity to make his own stamp on it. So
Hmm.
I've said a lot of things. I'm going to let you talk for a little bit, Cody. What are your thoughts about David Lee as a candidate? And please don't hold back, because I know you had some concerns as well the first time you heard his name, and just, kind of trying to parse through his experience and whether or not that might translate to his role here in Kansas City.
Yeah. So like a lot of people, my first impulse when I get that information is to find out what's wrong with that with that person, right? Like, and that's not an indictment on them or Sporting Kansas City. Like, it's just naturally like we've been called Stadler and Waldorf, and I'm a kind of a curmudgeonly person, and that's why Matt Demline and I have been Twitter friends and real life friends for a very long time, and because we share that sort of curmudgeonliness and maybe slightly pessimistic outlook, and so I immediately started thinking about what I wanted to find out what was thought of him um, before he was let go, right? Um, so you had knowledge of this a little bit before, and I received knowledge of this like maybe just before the public announcement was made, and so that's before people started weighing in, and I wanted to know what NYC FC's supporters thought about their CSO, and of course, um, I I did not take immediately into account just the general negativity of New York sports fans, um, which they're they make you and I look Pollyanna-ish, I think, and
If
so
you think if you think Chiefs fans after an 0-2
yeah,
start, after
uh,
3 out of 5 Super Bowls won,
yeah,
are a little over their skis, like New York sports fans are take it to a whole new level.
yeah.
Like if everything's not going exactly right, get this fucking guy out of here is kind of how they operate.
Yeah, and so there was some really easily Googleable
There's a Reddit thread. All you have
criticism,
to do
right?
is say David
Right.
Lee NYCFC, and like the third
Right.
result that pops up is a Reddit thread from the off season with
Right.
like 400 comments
Right.
on it.
Uh, Unlike some people, I don't think Reddit is useful for soccer related stuff hardly at all. I find most of the stuff on Reddit just like unreadable. But there was there was other things that I read that were critical of some things, especially around player signing and hits and misses in terms of player recruitment and the timing of signings, and it just seemed like those fans would be completely happy to see Lee leave their club, and so that kind of gave me a little bit of pause, and but I think that after talking with you about it, and after doing a little bit more in-depth research and listening to a lot of takes, I mean, um, it really seems like a really positive hire for lots of different reasons. And, I think that, what I mentioned before was ambition. And I think that that is the most heartening thing to me, is that this is a statement of ambition. We didn't go pick somebody off the scrap heap. We didn't find someone who was cheap. We didn't hire like some player's agent who moonlights as a as an author. Like there's none of those shenanigans. Like we poached a good candidate from a very successful team with deep pockets, and we poached a an administrator who wasn't on the chopping block and who
No, they wanted him to stay.
they wanted him to stay, right? Exactly.
They wanted him to
Like,
stay through the stadium opening. Like they had
yep,
all kinds of plans
yep.
with him in charge.
So all of those things, like when you just sort of like, take a deep breath and zoom out a little bit and look at the sort of, the overall version of everything, the macro version of everything, it really starts to be a very impressive hire, and hopefully a hire that sets the club on the track that that frankly the fans deserve for the club to be on. Because we've seen Sporting Kansas City's fans stick by their club really through, at this point, what, three, pretty terrible seasons. And there's not really, frankly, a lot of reason for people to keep going out to Children's Mercy Park, and yet people keep going out there, and they do so without sort of the bitterness and rancor that you see in fans of teams, 3 hours to the east of us, which I think is important. Like it's a vibe, man, and the vibe matters. And I think that this hiring, one of the things I really appreciate about it is, um, and when we talk about it's ambitious, it seems like it's ambitious, as you noted, on both fronts, right? Like somebody of Mike Lee's status and stature, that
David Lee.
David Lee. Oh my God, I'm confusing him already with Mike Burns. Somebody of David Lee's stature is not going to he's not going to take a job where costs are going to be cut and the team is going cheap, right? Like that's not it. And like once I realized that like this is like a big time hiring, and this is a statement of intent from the club and from David Lee. And that is super exciting to me, because that means that there's going to be money available for him to sign players. That means that there's going to be sort of grace given to him to, I think, probably, build out the sort of the administrative structure of the club. And so like all of those things together make me really excited. He obviously knows what he's doing. Um, you can't have a club as successful as NYCFC has been for as long as they've been without having somebody in charge who gives a shit and who is good at their job. And it seems like both of those things apply to him. And so um, I think that fans should be really optimistic about Sporting Kansas City's future.
So I'm gonna, man, that's you've said a lot of things that I agree with, so I'm not gonna repeat all of them. A couple things that stand out to me that I want to make sure that we highlight. One of them is there was some conversation amongst New York City FC fans regarding their 2021 MLS Cup win. Was that it was just a couple years after Reyna left, and the question was like, was that really Claudio Reyna's team or was that David Lee's team that won that title? I think it's worth noting that, first of all, David Lee was a technical director, I think, starting in 2017,
Yeah.
which was really when that team started to get good, right? It was post, Frank Lampard and, David Villa was a good player for that team, but it's post Lampard and Pirlo and a lot of that kind of stuff. And it was more, Andoni Iraola was still on that team at the time, but it was post all of that and then sort of migrating towards a real MLS team and trying to like build an MLS team. Lee was a technical director on the team at that time. And they built up to this place. And then obviously Reyna leaves to go take over the project in Austin. Lee is elevated to sporting director and chief soccer officer. They win MLS Cup in 2021. And there is some conversation around whether or not that was Reyna's team more than Lee's team. I think it's worth noting that Reyna went to Austin and sort of crashed out.
Right. The data collected since that point points to Lee being a much better,
Perhaps the technical director
much better at his job than Reyna is.
Perhaps the technical director underneath Reyna was actually more to do with why Reyna was successful in New York. Yep. And then the success continued after his exit than necessarily Claudio Reyna was successful, because Claudio Reyna has not really had a job since then.
Yeah.
other than being his son's helicopter parent. So there's something to be said for that. I'm there's a little correlation and causation I'm doing there, but also it is an appropriate counterpoint to this conversation around whether or not Lee is actually responsible for the success in New York City. There's also legitimate conversation around how much the City Football Group architecture allowed him to be successful. And I do believe that there is a piece of that for sure. It was highlighted to me in the Discord that when we talk about CFG, we have to at least describe to people who CFG is, because I didn't even realize this. They're a major bank in Baltimore. So
why are they talking about my bank? I don't get it. So
Joe
confused.
made a joke about CFG Group Bank ATMs or something like that. Never heard of that before. In the Midwest, we don't see that, but it is. When we say CFG, we mean the City Football Group. The City Football Group is the consortium of clubs that are owned by the Emiratis that own Manchester City. So they own Manchester City, obviously, but they also own either all or significant portions of many other clubs, including Girona in Spain, Troyes in France, Melbourne City in Australia, New York City is one of them. And they have, if you go look up City Football Group on Wikipedia, they have like 20 different football clubs in various levels around the world that they own either all of or a significant portion of. So that's what we mean when we say City Football Group. And City Football Group, they operate as a consortium. They have sort of this centralized amount of resources for analytics, for recruiting, for all of that, because it makes sense if you own that many clubs to sort of central. You don't want a full scouting network for each team. That's not an efficient way to use your money or to use your resources. You have it for the entire group, and you sort of pull information from all of those places in order to recruit. It also means that there's probably some level of dictation that comes down from above about what your game model is going to be for your clubs, what your recruitment model is going to be for certain players, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a reason, and I think Joe mentioned this in our conversation, why New York City FC has signed so many, sort of 19 to 24-year-old South Americans. That is a recruitment model that Manchester City has utilized throughout its existence since being bought by this consortium. And so that is part of New York City FC's job inside of this group, is to help find and develop these high upside South American talents. And that is kind of what they focus on. So I say all of that to say that there are legitimate questions about David Lee's ability to sort of branch out from beyond that. And he'll have to do that in Kansas City because he's not in sort of the confines. And I do think they are confines at some level, right? Like
100%.
he has limitations as well that come with this. But also that structure can be easy to rely on as well. And
Well,
so
and
go ahead.
And just in terms of the reliance, it does make it, and this is something that Joe alluded to as well. It does make it easier to attract and sign young players, right? If players want to play they see themselves as eventually being able to play for Manchester City. Or to move to Europe, it's much more attractive to go to a club that's associated with City Football Group than it is to go to Sporting Kansas City, for instance. And so in that way, I think that it could make his job, this move could make Lee's job more difficult. But
which is more perception than reality, because how many of these players have ever actually done that, right?
Right, absolutely. But
Tati Castellanos is probably the only one. He went to Girona for like a year, but now he's in Serie A. He's not playing for a City Group club anymore. So I'm trying to think of like anyone who's actually gone from New York City FC to Manchester City. Has it ever happened?
I don't think so. Like, who's the guy who plays for Everton, or who got
Jack
loaned to
Grealish?
Everton? No. He played for NYCFC, and then he played for Leeds, and then
Jack Harrison.
Jack Harrison.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I don't know if he was ever rostered, but I mean that's probably the closest that you're gonna get in terms of
Right.
that
And again,
relationship.
I'm not saying that doesn't mean that the 22-year-old kid from Uruguay doesn't think that
Right. They
that
all
might
think
be
that they all think
yeah.
that that's why they're professional athletes,
That is
right?
the recruiting that
Absolutely.
aspect of it that enables you to recruit. I think your point is
Absolutely.
still valid that he doesn't have that as a Sporting Kansas City chief soccer officer.
Right. And so, but that might mean that he shifts gears and targets players who are a little bit older. I mean, we don't know what that means, but it is something to keep an eye on. And that was something that I texted you originally too. Is like, both in terms of blame and quote unquote blame, and in terms of credit. Like it's just hard to know where Lee starts and City Football Group ends, and vice versa. And so that's going to be a really interesting thing as a fan to sort of watch. But again, it's just sort of a thing to keep an eye on. It's not, I think, a deal breaker at all. Quite the opposite. I mean, you want somebody who has experience, talking with agents and scouting that sort of age range of players. That even if he decides, to pivot as Sporting Kansas City's CSO, that experience can only help him, I think, moving forward in this situation. And so I don't. I'm choosing right now to just view that as just a positive, a net positive, and that relationship with City Football Group. Uh, is something that he maybe hopefully learned and took a lot of things away from, but is still able to function outside of that umbrella.
Right. Just because he hasn't done it before doesn't mean he can't.
Right.
I think it's a realistic thing to be aware of when you're evaluating his performance in the role, when you're seeing kind of, what this could mean in the future. We're taking all of this news in, we're 24 hours away from it. We're just sort of letting our thoughts be known. This isn't a negative. I got to be completely honest. When I look at the candidate pool
Hmm.
and I look at just even the four finalists, and I can say with relative confidence I know who the four finalists were. None of them had this level of experience in MLS.
Yeah.
They had different experiences in different places, which I thought was noteworthy because of how sort of diverse the candidate pool was, and they all offered interesting options for Sporting, like and in different ways. And so, like and I think we've discussed Corey Ray on this podcast several times. It's been reported that he was a finalist by, the fact that he is now he is now in the St. Louis candidate pool, and so that has been leaked out that he was a finalist for Kansas City. From what I've heard, it sounds like that is true. But Corey Ray has no experience as a chief soccer officer. He's much
Right.
more of an up and comer that has a lot of experience within successful organizations, but has never actually led a team himself. The other two, from my understanding, were from European clubs, both of which had very interesting profiles to me, but again, don't know much of anything about MLS. But I take all of that to mean the club did a really good job getting a bunch of diverse sort of perspectives on how to go forward here,
Yeah.
and then ended up recruiting. I mean, because they had to recruit him. Let's be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
Like, there's a reason he got a 7-year deal. There's a reason his title is
Hmm.
president of soccer
Hmm.
operations and general
Yeah.
manager. There's a reason that I'm sure there are significant promises related to roster investment, front office staffing investment, infrastructure, and whatnot in order to get him to come do this, because he has all of those already
Yep.
in New York City. Maybe he's more bound by the guidelines of the City Football Group, but he has all those resources for
Yep.
sure. So for him to come here, he's going to want similar resources and the autonomy to build it out the way he is. For them to recruit him and give him
Yeah.
that, to your point, that's a significant sign of ambition. That's a significant sort of stake drawn in the ground by this ownership group that we're not fucking around. Which I'm not sure we could say prior to this?
No, well, no, we were all. I think like that's why everybody,
That's where the malaise came from,
everybody,
right?
and that's why
Because it
everybody
felt
on the
like we were just fucking around. It didn't feel like there was anything serious. Like it felt
yeah.
deeply unserious for a
That's
long
why
time.
everybody in the Discord is like, just completely nervous about anything that has to do with anything in terms of signing, coaches or players, because it's just like, all of that, sort of like anxiety is well earned, right? All of that anxiety and that nervousness and that unsurety about how this club acts and and the kinds of decisions they make, like we have been burned before and very recently, and they really they really did not demonstrate that they had a clue of what they were supposed to do, post Peter Vermes, and it's taken a long, long time for them to get their shit together, and the longer it took, the I think the higher the bar, at least for me, the higher the bar was raising, right? Every month that this search drug on, meant even more that they had to get it done and get it done right and make the right choice. It looks like they did, right? It looks like they did their job, and that's really all we can ask for. Who knows, like at some point, right, you're just kind of rolling the dice with any hiring, and who knows
Sure.
if right, that's
No
just
one
that's
knew
just the
when
nature,
LAFC
right?
started that John
Exactly.
Thorrington was going to be the guy that he is, right?
Right.
Like nobody knew
Right.
that.
Yep.
Obviously, the folks at LAFC felt they had the right guy, but
Yep.
it's not like everyone in the league was predicting LAFC would become this sort of recruiting and front
Dude,
office juggernaut.
nobody thought that San Diego was going to be worth half a shit this season, and they're one of the leaders in the league. So like none of these things,
Their underlying
nothing.
numbers aren't quite as good as their results
Sure,
are. They're
sure.
not St. Louis in their first season
Right.
overperforming, but they're overperforming a little bit, right?
But
to
for
what they're
but for an expansion team, like
Sure.
they
They actually look like a good expansion team. I
Right,
think St. Louis was a flash in the pan, sort of unsustainable thing.
the point is that nothing is a given, right? Like we all, myself included, assumed that signing Garth Lagaway meant that Atlanta was boom, book it, right? They're a playoff team. They're home hosting playoffs. They're going to be great, and they have been absolute shit. There's no guarantees.
They're as bad as Sporting Kansas
They
City.
are. They are bad, man.
Probably might
Yes.
be worse than Sporting
They
Kansas
are.
City.
They are as bad or worse than Sporting Kansas City, with way more, quote, more talent, and definitely way more expensive talent, right?
A
So
lot more expensive talent, and
So
supposedly a fantastic coach who used to coach for City Football
Right.
Group,
So
used to
this
coach for
is-
New York City. Yeah,
this is all to say that like there's no guarantees, right? But I think that fans should really be heartened by the fact that this is, as we stated before, this is a statement of intent. This is like the club saying, we're not fucking around. We are going to try and get this right. We're going to spend money where a club that's ambitious should spend money. And if Grant Wall were still around, rest his soul, then he would automatically be elevating Sporting Kansas City in the ambition rankings that he used to do, and
100%.
because that's what this is. This is saying like we're a serious club, and we want, we're not in that conversation, but we belong in that conversation, and we're going to get back to that conversation.
That is a very, very positive, or it's a very clear way to put it, and I agree with kind of your mindset about that. It's also an ambitious move for Lee, right? For him to move outside of the City Football Group architecture and take over a team that is far below the standard of what he has put together in New York City over the last 6 years, and say, this is what I want to do. And I thought, during my conversation with Joe earlier today, I thought one of the things that was most noteworthy was that, he mentioned that Lee wasn't the only existing front office exec in MLS that was interested in this job. That there were others that were actually interested in it. And I think it goes to show how they see this opportunity, and how well ownership and club leadership made it clear of what they were trying to accomplish. And I put the bullet point in the rundown, and I think that it's really important. And Zach Cobb mentioned this on the Discord yesterday during it. It's like this look.
Please don't give Zach Cobb
I
any
mean, I got
credit.
to give him some credit.
Why?
Every once in a while he says something useful. This looks like a competent organization
It
doing
does.
something the right way.
It does. Yeah.
It looks like a professional organization making a professional decision.
Yep. It feels good.
And I honestly, that's all we ever wanted.
Yeah, 100%.
Like sometimes you're gonna so to David Lee's credit, sometimes you're gonna sign a guy that's gonna flame out, whatever.
Yeah.
You find a guy in Qatar that'll buy him back for what you paid for him. You move on, right? Like sometimes those are things you just do. Like we're not gonna get every signing right. He's not gonna hire everybody perfectly right the first time around. They're gonna bring people in analytics and scouting and assistant sporting directors and Sporting KC2 coaches and Sporting KC coaches and whatnot. There's too many fucking people for him to hire for him to knock everyone out of the park. It's just not realistic. Some things are going to need to be adjusted on the fly, and you do that. The difference is it looks like you know what the fuck you're doing at the time, and you just go, okay, this isn't working, and you adjust.
Right. And when you're working at that level, like roster churn is that's the way that
it's built in.
That's the way that all successful clubs work. Like the thing that Sporting Kansas City fans got used to with Peter Vermes is not the way that things work in almost any other club,
It's why this team is so shit right now.
It is 100. That was 100% the case, and if you have somebody who recognizes that and who comes in and who knows that you make choices. If you make a bad choice, boom, you fix that choice as quickly as you can, and you move on and you make new choices. And
no sunk cost fallacy.
No, never. And that's the way you run a successful soccer team.
And this shows, like I said, it's the first step, right? There are many more steps left to come, but all of those steps are David Lee's steps to make.
Yep.
Like that is the line that Sporting Kansas City has drawn in the sand, but also David Lee has drawn it by taking this 7-year deal, and they're hand in hand saying together, we're going to transform this organization. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a lot of pressure for him, but I'm sure it's a lot of excitement for him as well to be able to do this without so many of those boundaries that existed with City Football Group. And it allows him to really, start with a blank slate. As I said to Joe earlier today, this is a borderline expansion team.
Yeah.
Both in roster and front office. Like he has so many places where he could decide to invest or not that allow him to build this out the way that he wants to. And so let's talk about his history with City Football Group. I think one of the concerns that you had is the fact that at least the perception is that for the clubs within that organization, that they are running a similar game model to Manchester City, that they're sort of beholden to the Pep Guardiola mindset. I'm not sure how true that really is, but there is certainly some structure within that you have to work.
Sure.
Certainly from a player identification and recruitment perspective and how you want those players to play.
Yep.
And so I think one of your concerns was like, are we bringing back the positional play 4-3-3 with him? I don't know if that's the case, but I mean, kind of talk through kind of your mindset there and like what you think could he because he's outside of that, bring some completely different ideas to what's going on with it, how to use the club.
So from my perspective, like Peter Vermes, I definitely always saw him as being sort of within that the Pep Guardiola sort of coaching vibe, right? Like
he talked about Pep all the time,
all the time. And you could see in the way that the team plays, the things that he prioritized, possession, positional play, all of those things are very
they're also high control systems, which is also a Peter Vermes sort of personality as well. I think that's 100%. Why that worked for him.
There is a reason he gravitated towards that style of play. And so when that when the announcement was made, that's the thing that popped into my mind is like, what does that mean? What does that look like on the field? Like, what influence does signing somebody with a history of working with City Football Group? How much just frankly, how much influence of Pep, right, is in the players that NYCFC was signing. I'm not saying that he was like, had anything to do with their actual signing. Just sort of the idea that, we're going for players who, are technically adept and good possession and passing, and maybe de-emphasizing things like athleticism and speed and defensive intensity, like those sorts of like just general broad player characteristics. And
especially when you play on a postage stamp of a soccer field,
right,
possession characteristics become more important.
Absolutely.
I was talking with Joe about sort of the coaching tree that he's had since, he had Dome Torrent and obviously Nick Cushing are both from the Manchester City umbrella. And then I made mention of the fact that Pascal Janssen is not necessarily from that umbrella, but he did coach AZ Alkmaar for like 4 years. And Dutch football,
yeah,
it kind of falls into the Pep mindset. I candidly haven't watched enough New York City FC this year to be able to tell you whether or not that's true. I'm aware of the fact that when I think about Lee and what he's done, he has found high quality players in the areas of the roster that Sporting has struggled with in the past. So if you just look at this year's NYCFC team, and there are many examples of this further back when we talk about Keaton Parks and other kinds of guys like or James Sands and things like that. There's Andres Perea, who he got in a trade from Philadelphia, who is a extremely high contributor for this team. Alonso Martinez, who we found in Costa Rica, who actually has scored more goals than Dejan Joveljic, right? There are these guys on this team that are kind of in that mid-TAM level or low-TAM level that he has found that have been extremely high-quality contributors to a good-performing team that make me feel pretty positive about it, regardless of the game model. I got to be honest, and I think I'm sure he's gone through all the slides of his slide deck several times with ownership regarding what he sees the possibility of this team being, how he'd like to employ them. We know that Mike Illick has already said he wants to play attractive possession-based soccer. That is a fairly nebulous description that doesn't mean a whole lot. But, I mean, no one says, hey, I want to play against the ball in transition. Even though there are teams that are really good at it. Sporting's going to see one this weekend.
The parlance of that in today's digital society is haram ball.
Haram ball, yeah.
It's haram. Exactly. Everybody's playing haram ball.
Yeah. Well, there are a number of teams that play that way. I call it chaos ball. I call it chaos ball. You're trying to invite...
Haram ball is more like parking the God. It's not even chaos ball. Haram ball is... I mean,
I think Minnesota United.
Arsenal right now plays haram ball basically. Pep, when he went 5 at the back versus Arsenal, that was haram ball big time.
That was the worst soccer to watch on earth.
I thought it was hilarious, honestly.
It's hilarious because of what Pep's doing.
Yes, 100%.
But it doesn't mean the soccer was fun to watch.
No, the soccer was terrible. But when I saw what he was doing, I was like, "This is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life, man." It's crazy. It's just.
I will take a bad team that's entertaining over a good team that plays like Arsenal. I'm sorry.
Amen.
Okay. But I don't think New York City plays a negative way, and they never really have.
No.
And so I think that goes to your point about sort of the possession based and sort of the positional play type of mindset towards how they're doing things, and whether we're bringing another one of those here to Kansas
And
City.
just sort of
Go ahead.
reflexively, I was like, I just wanted Sporting Kansas City to go a different direction because I'm tired of watching that shit, right? Um, but that's my own like personal, like very subjective bias playing
Yeah,
into it.
but
And
Liverpool uses positional
sure,
arrangements to move the ball forward, and they're
absolutely,
fucking entertaining as
absolutely.
hell. So it doesn't. I mean,
I totally agree. That I'm just telling you, that was my initial like just gut like knee jerk reaction, just like, oh man, I wish we would go a different direction. But it's
the
not a bad
current.
direction.
You love watching the
Yeah,
Kansas City
that's
Current.
true.
They're probably one of your more fun tactical teams to
Yep,
watch.
absolutely.
And they are not a they are a invite you to the middle, crash the fuck out of you, and go
So
forward kind of team. And it's kind of an interesting mindset. But they also have positional arrangements and
yep,
rotation assignments that are just so
yep.
fluid and fun. Like you can have all of
I
that.
watched PSG versus Barcelona today in the
This
Champions
I
League,
wish
and
I got to watch it. I
it was a
wanted
great
to.
time. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it was fun. It was just fun to watch.
It's absurd to me how much I enjoy PSG right now. Like I have
It feels
and
dirty, doesn't it?
it does. It does. Matt Denline's not going to like this very much, but I mean, for the longest time, I enjoyed watching PSG fail because
Yeah.
it's all Qatari oil money and
Hmm.
just like whatever. And now they have one of the most interesting and entertaining teams in the world.
Absolutely.
But Barcelona is obviously playing really good soccer as well. And
Yep.
they have a bunch of fun young players, and so yeah. But that's what I'm saying is you don't have to do Arsenal
No.
to be good, and you can play fun positional arrangements
Yeah.
and be good at the same time. And so they're not mutually exclusive. And I think that you can do more modern things. And that is the stuff that I'm hearing about Lee. When I talk to people around the league, when I talk to people that are aware of this recruitment process, this hiring process, the thing that keeps coming back is modern MLS thinker. That's
Yeah.
what I hear over and over and over again.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Just
Um,
inject it right into my veins. Let's go.
he's got an analytical mind. He obviously comes from access and awareness and visibility to
Yep.
City Football Group's analytics platform and how they go about evaluating players. For all of Sport of Kansas City's complete lack of analytics currently, this is a club that on the business side uses analytics constantly. They
Yeah.
are an analytics business. They are. There's a reason that they win. That Jake Reed wins. Executive of the year and all this other stuff. They are well respected around the league as one of the best run clubs in the league. We can see this by the fact that there's still 15,000 people in the stands 3 years on from this team ever being any good.
Yeah.
It's because they create an environment. They know how to engage with their fans. All the shit about the concessions and all this stuff. That's honest. I don't want to dismiss it as nothing because it's not nothing. But most of it comes from the fact that the team sucks and they're like finding something else to complain about.
Sure.
It's not really real. This team, like I've been to some other stadiums in this league, and I'm telling you, like Sporting Kansas City is still a beacon for what experience can be like at an MLS game. And it shows. And if I take someone new to a game for the first time, even now when the team sucks, they're like, this is so cool. Why have I not done this before?
Yeah.
So you put all that together, and analytics is a big part of what they do on the business side for engaging fans and engaging on the business side. And for them to be so just absent on the soccer operations side with it is noteworthy.
It's an indictment on Peter Vermes. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
is.
what it is. That's
It
what
is.
it is. That's why it's lagging so far behind everything else. And it's going to change. And that's a good
It is
thing.
100% going to change.
Yep.
David Lee is going to bring analytics to this club. That is something I feel fairly confident in saying. I mean, New York City FC is well recognized around the league as one of the higher functioning analytics clubs in the league. Obviously, it helps that they have the City Football Group, arm to help them with that. But Lee has also spent his whole career in sort of performance management. And so, and then, as a technical director and then sporting director and chief soccer officer over the last 8 years at New York City, he has used all of that. And so he's going to know, he's got so much experience with it. He's going to be able to bring that experience to Kansas City. And I think that's going to be a huge, huge thing. Both the analytics and the scouting and player ID stuff. Like, those are the two things that come from the City Football Group umbrella that he has experience in and can bring here. Right. Yeah. I think, we think a lot about the boundaries of City Football Group, and is he just sort of myopic and sort of tunnel visioned a little bit because of that? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Well, I guess we'll see. But he also brings that wealth of experience and understanding of how good clubs do this shit that he'll be able, and probably a lot of contacts of folks that might be interested in a new job with a pay bump and a title bump that he could
might
bring with
be
him.
Like, holy shit, I can sign players who are over 25 years old.
No
wow.
Shit. Yeah, I don't always have to sign a 22-year-old from Argentina.
Yeah.
I can actually, we can use this identification mechanism that we understand and make a better
and still sign the 20-year-old from Argentina, but maybe also complement that with, a 25-year-old from Croatia, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so that's the potential opportunity that exists here. And I think that he is going to bring that experience, which this club desperately needs. It needs someone with that type of experience and someone with a modern MLS mind. And additionally, someone who has managed a team and a salary cap and a salary budget for years and years and years, understands the boundaries of it, has been involved in the Board of Governors meetings, knows what they're talking about potential changes to it in the future, can prepare for those, all of that. As much as I'd love to get somebody from Brentford who has been working with all of their analytics platforms and their player ID platforms and sort of maximizing the middle.
It sounds sexy, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does. But that guy doesn't know shit about MLS when it comes to managing a roster, right?
And we've seen time and time again that the MLS is a different animal. Like, it's a very complicated league for executives
it breaks Football Manager. If you ever try to run a save in Football Manager, the machine just doesn't even know how to do it. Like, they don't even understand it. And I mean, that's a video game reference, but still, like, it is so complicated. The most complicated soccer video game on earth can't figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe FM26 will crack the code, man.
I'm not holding my breath. I actually hate playing MLS teams in Football Manager because I know the rules better than the game does.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, that shouldn't happen.
That would not, it wouldn't happen. Literally wouldn't happen.
You're such a nerd.
Yes,
I am. I had to stop playing it because it was too much for me. Like, there's no natural sort of stop point at anywhere in that game. And so
the whole point is to keep the save going.
It just became like
you're chasing results constantly,
and it defined every waking minute of my day. Like, because I had no self-control, and so it was just it
is very easy to get absorbed.
I was like, holy shit, is this what heroin is like? Like, I understand now. I can't. I got to get rid of it.
I think anyone who's played Football Manager has gone through this process and now every once in a while I get interested and I'll fire up a save for a weekend or something, but it's because I have gone through what you're describing.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's great and
I'm
awesome.
I'm awake at 3 a.m.
Right.
I don't realize it's 3 a.m. until I look and I'm like, it's fucking 3 a.m. and I'm still playing this game. So trust me, I understand where you're coming from. But moving back to David Lee in his awareness of MLS restrictions and just experience with it. Like, that's just another thing. And I think that has something to do with, when you look at the candidate pool, why they were so bullish on trying to get David Lee in this role.
Right.
Is that not only does he have the modern analytics mind and the things that they really appreciated about some of the other candidates from a philosophy perspective, he also has so much experience in this league.
It's kind of the same thing as the same kind of thing as signing Joveljic, right? It's like, yes, a European signing or a South American signing, that would be sexier and maybe make maybe capture everybody's imagination. But when it comes down to it, this is a proven commodity, and not only proven commodity, but a commodity that's proven to be successful in MLS, in the league, where they're
Not only
going to
just
be playing.
successful, but the most successful
Right,
since he's been a CSO.
right,
And I
yeah,
mean, not necessarily in like trophies, but like in consistent regular
high
season
performance.
success.
Right,
Like, can you imagine if the floor for Kansas City was we have gotten the most points over the last 6 years?
yeah. Yeah, I can because that used to be Sporting Kansas City. I can
Right.
definitely imagine that, right? Like Sporting Kansas City used to be
Won
that
a
club.
cup, competed in a couple
Yep,
others,
yep.
and they won the Campeones Cup too. So they got a couple trophies, competed in a couple others, and had the most points in the league over a
That's
6 year span.
that is absolutely the best you can possibly expect from being the fan of an MLS team. That is it.
Not if you ask some New York City FC supporters.
Well, you know,
Not all of us are rational. Um, I I tend to be fairly I'm being fairly optimistic about this because I got to be honest, man. Like I said this earlier, like I wasn't really sure. We thought Corey Ray was going to be a
yeah,
good
I was like, yeah,
candidate.
let's go. That sounds great to me.
This guy is like leaps and bounds beyond that, right?
Absolutely agree. Yep, 100%.
And that's not to say again, we're not predicting otherworldly success, but on the basis of what you could do with this hire,
Yeah,
I'm not sure how much better it could get.
right,
Other than hiring John Thorrington away from LAFC. Like,
right.
who are you hiring? Who else could you hire that would be a bigger deal than this?
Yeah, Pep. You just give Pep all the
Yeah,
keys
but
to
Pep's
everything.
never run a front office.
So
Like,
I'm
that's like
just
saying I'm
making
going to hire Jurgen Klopp. Like,
I'm just
what
making
is?
a Peter Vermes joke. Just give
Yeah,
Pep the keys to
just give
everything.
Pep the keys to everything.
But no,
Yeah.
but that's unrealistic. This is an outstanding hire. It is, and and like you said, nothing is guaranteed. It's totally possible that St. Louis signs Corey Ray, and in the short term that they're better off for that. But I wouldn't put my money on it, right? And
Yeah. Well, and
um,
there's something to be said for the fact that Corey Ray has been through this a couple times now
right?
and has not gotten that job.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
And I don't know what the reason is for that. And I'm not saying he's not qualified, but I mean, he interviewed for the Columbus job. They gave it to his peer. He
Yeah.
left. He looked for other stuff, couldn't find it. Became a consultant at Montreal before becoming their chief soccer officer ish, because it's always Joey Saputo. And then got fired when they found out he was interviewing for this job.
Yeah.
So like I think that there's there's other jobs I think he's gonna land on his feet. I think he's gonna be fine. But I think that there's a significant difference in quality of candidate between the two of them,
Right.
and that's what I'm saying. It's like even the opportunity for the overseas candidates that they had just do not have this level of experience in the league that he does. And you combine the level of experience in the league with this sort of modern MLS mind, as it's been said, and the experience with analytics and recruiting. It's hard for me to come away with this as saying they could have got this guy. No, I'm really struggling to come up with a better solution than what they
Yeah.
came up with.
No, it checks all of the boxes, and I think that now it's just a matter of the clock starts ticking, right? Like we're essentially already in the off season, and for this team, is not doing anything the rest of the year, obviously, and so it's really about identifying and recruiting talent to come to Kansas City, and that starts with the head coach deciding what you want to do with that, and then moving forward as quickly and efficiently as possible.
I mean, if there's anything to quibble with outside of just the recruiting model of the City Football Group and the access it gives you to players that you may not have otherwise, there's also the fact that he's never had to build any of this on his own. It was all provided to him, right? So he's effectively at an MLS startup at this point. Like he is the CEO of an MLS startup.
Right.
and has to build out all of those organizations on his own. Build out
I
his
mean,
analytics department, scouting
he
department, recruitment department, all of that.
he's probably just happy to be working for a club that has like a real soccer field as their home field. Um,
Yeah,
Because frankly, I'm not gonna lie, man. That is a big part of the reason why I have not watched very much of that team. Because if they
I
play at
can't watch
home,
it either. I hate it.
if they play at home, I'm out. Like it's an automatic. Like I'm
Well, you
out.
never know where home is. It might be in
Well,
Hartford. They might
that's
be on
true.
a real grass field, or they might be
Yeah,
in City Field or
yeah,
Yankee Stadium, or who the fuck knows.
yep,
Like I have struggled to take that club seriously for a
yep.
long time because of that, and it's not David Lee's fault. He's done a good job building a good MLS team out of it, but as a soccer fan, it's difficult to take a team that's playing on a 67-yard wide field seriously.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just can't do it.
I do think that that NYCFC has traditionally been a little bit of a slow starting team, and some of that has to do with the fact that their player signings seem to lag, and I'm not sure. I don't have a good read as to whether that is whether that's a Lee thing or whether that's a CFG thing, and so it would be nice to
Interesting.
it would be nice to, it would be nice to get some business done early in the winter window so that we can kind of have an idea of like, okay, yeah, we're on the right track rather than saving it till the last week.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So then, one of the big notes in the press release was that Mike Burns and Kerry Zavagnin will report to David Lee. I mean, I don't think those are surprising
Right.
revelations, and that Lee will report directly to ownership. But it was noteworthy that both were sort of noted in there. Mike Burns, sporting director, was hired during the Peter Vermees during Peter Vermees's tenure as the chief soccer officer. Burns' contract is up at the end of the year. There's an option, my understanding, with the club, but Burns has been fairly effective for the most part when it
Yeah,
comes
and
to
that's
his
I
signings.
think that's one of those things that I think that most of us who saw it were like, because
Well,
his performance at New England was not like great,
right.
and he's turned out to be like a pretty good addition, honestly, and he's done some really
He
impressive
didn't get
things.
everything right, but I mean, it's neither did David Lee, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, I
He
think
sold
that
Alan Polito, man. That like wipes
bro,
everything else off the table. Like,
that is
dude,
an
I,
Joe and
I,
I joked
I
about it.
heard that. That was
It is
hilarious.
and it's an absurd situation to
It,
actually get
it's
money back for
crazy.
Alan Polito.
It's
It's an
crazy.
absurd situation. But I also think that Shabi Suleimanov, yeah,
Yeah.
the Aris Thessaloniki combo meal, we could have done without the free apple slices on the side. I could have just done with the cheeseburger, but it was it was but for the most part,
Every
and
everybody just wanted fries, dude.
yeah,
Like
we just
just
wanted
fries.
fries.
Nobody wanted apples. That
We
shit.
got
Come
apple
on.
slices instead, and it was not great. We just wanted fries in our Happy Meal. Um, but also like sniffing out the situation on Dejan Joveljic and jumping on it
Yeah.
and making that transaction was
It's
such a
impressive.
huge deal. Like Burns has been pretty good at his job since
Yep.
he's been in the role. I think we're going to hear more next week once David Lee is officially in role. I'm hearing there's probably a press conference middle of next week where he'll get to talk, and there will probably be some more detail on kind of what the organization structure is going to look like, and
Hmm.
we'll get to hear more about it at that point in time. But I think Mike Burns has earned the right to at least stick around for another year.
Sure.
Get his option picked up, whatever it is. He has done enough there, and let's be honest, Lee's got enough people to hire.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's the thing. I thought during your conversation with Joe, when Pulse Camp was brought up, and that's where I fall in the Pulse Camp thing, is that like there are enough other things to take care of. Like you have a goalkeeper that we know can be an adequate starter. Maybe he's not great, but like you have all of these other positions that really need to be addressed, and the same thing applies to the staff too, right? Like you have all this other shit that needs to be taken care of. Mike Burns can do a job. Maybe he's not the best at it, but you can cross that bridge when you have to come to it, right?
I think it's fine if Mike Burns is under the purview of a legitimately smart
Absolutely.
chief soccer officer.
Absolutely.
I don't want Mike Burns driving the bus.
Yeah.
But I'm perfectly fine with him, helping decide what, supplies are put on the bus for the camping trip, right?
Yeah,
like I'm
absolutely.
good with that. And I think that he's shown that he has an eye and also a negotiation prowess.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those,
that's worth something, man.
it is worth something. So, maybe it comes down to it on some bigger signings where Lee steps in to kind of close the deal, which is fine. But I think Mike has shown that he has an ability and can help build out this roster, and also can, you can see the flexibility he's also built in the roster by not overextending on certain things and allowing this team to have a lot of options in the offseason. And you put all that together, and I just think it fits well with what they need to be doing this offseason. And I think that there's some opportunity there for those. And maybe over time, the personalities don't work and he moves on and whatever. But I think in the short term, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to try to replace him.
Agree. Just no more BOGOs. No more BOGOs.
No more BOGOs.
We're good.
And I really, there's something to be said for the fact that I think that Peter Vermees wanted Manu Garcia so bad that they accepted it. Like this feels a little Vermees-y to me.
It truly
you heard
does.
me talk to Joe about Manu Garcia. Yeah. We had our sort of hash out about our differences of opinion on Manu Garcia.
I appreciated you pushing that conversation. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah. And it's not contentious. We just have different points of view on it.
Sure,
but I also
absolutely.
appreciate Joe's point of view. You're spending a DP on a central midfielder. Like, does that make sense either? Like, he has a valid point when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
I think Manu Garcia was so much the perfect Peter Vermees player that he was like, I have to have this guy.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. So Mike Burns flew over there and they got the deal done.
Yeah.
With a special edition. So
I think that if you surrounded Manu Garcia with a halfway decent team, even a halfway decent team, like just a team full of competent other soccer players, I think that his abilities would really pop.
I agree.
But
I think it's hard to see, and I think, and to Joe's credit, he's not grinding a bunch of Sporting Kansas City games like that.
Why would you?
Why?
Unless you really love Stephen Afrifa, man.
We're gonna get to him in a second. But yeah, I you have to be grinding Sporting Kansas City games to see some of the value in Manu Garcia, and it's not the easiest watch otherwise, as most listening to this podcast can attest to.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for Carey Zavagnin? I mean, I honestly think it probably means that Carey's time is I don't know for sure, but it feels like maybe the writing's on the wall here.
I think that at the risk of sounding callous, I think it should be on the wall. I think even from Carey's point of view, it should be on the wall. I think that I do think that there is a good coach in there. I really do. I think, and I've said this multiple times, I think that he needs to go. He needs to go be the head coach at a lower level, and put in his time and
which sucks for a guy who's been a coach for 15 years, right?
That's his choice, man. Like, he chose to stay here. He chose to not go and get other experience, and he had his shot. And much like our friend Cam Duke, he didn't quite get there, and that's okay. That's okay.
Did I tell you the story? I was hanging out with Cam Duke's girlfriend.
Yeah, you did. That's partly why I brought it up. That's okay. Like, it's okay, right? He I think that there's enough positives for Savagnin that I think that like if he dropped to USL, I think he could have a lot of success and prove that he is you know, worthy of an MLS shot, and he might get that shot. I don't like. I really think that given his skills at man management, given his sort of tactical eye, I think that there is definitely a place for him as a successful coach. I don't think it's an MLS head coach right now. I don't.
He's an unbelievably smart soccer guy.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I've spoken to him several times. I see how he thinks about the game. He's a really intelligent dude. Managing a team of professionals requires a certain level of being a dickhead.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it's
yeah.
unfortunate, but it is required. I think Vermees, reasonable people can quibble about the level of dickhead necessary and whether Vermees went too far on the dickhead side of things. But
I think he did at first, but then I think he swung the pendulum too far back the other way towards the end of his tenure.
Yeah, and there's some getting high on his own supply that happened there as well, and just a variety of things that went down that didn't work out. Carey, I think you made this point to me, and I'm not sure you made it on the podcast, so I want to bring it up. You made this point to me as being an assistant for 15 years. He was always the guy that put his arm around the guy.
That's
right?
The assistant coach's job, man. That's
right.
Right.
Gets bitched out. He's the guy who puts the arm around the guy and says, "Hey, here's what you need to do. I mean, I understand you're upset, but this is what this means." And I think he takes that sort of mindset into his head coaching. And I don't think that it's necessarily wrong, but I also think that it can diminish his ability to have institutional control over a situation,
especially when it's unbalanced, when there's nobody to play off of.
Right. And also you're dealing with a bunch of mid-20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, like when you're in your mid-20s,
you're a dipshit.
But you're fairly certain that you're not, and know better.
That's how it makes you more of a dipshit. Absolutely.
100%. 100%. And it requires somebody to kind of put you in your place sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Carey has that, and I don't know that he commands that level of respect, if that makes sense. There is a way to command respect without being an asshole. Yep. I want to be really clear about that, and you can do it with intelligence, and you can do it by showing you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yep.
But it also requires a level of firmness and willingness and to sort of assert yourself. And that is the thing I think Carey is missing, in my personal opinion. And I may be completely off base. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what it is, but it feels a little bit that way. And I think it also goes into the fact that he's got sort of these galaxy-brained pregame plans for games that he has to adjust on the fly. And there's just a whole lot of just like, I think your point is like, there's just a whole lot of like he's learning on the fly how to be a coach.
It's naivete is what it is.
And we're okay with that with Ian James because he's fucking 17.
Right.
But Carey Zavagnan's in his 50s.
Yeah.
And has been a coach for a long time. And if you want to be a head coach of an MLS team, you've got to be a little bit more wired up than that.
Yeah.
And this sounds like me just really just like going after Carey, and I don't mean it to be that way.
I don't think it sounds that way at all. Like, not to me, at least. I think you're being pretty kind, honestly.
I think that 15 years as an assistant has not necessarily prepared him to be an actual head coach.
I would totally agree with that. And yeah, and honestly, I have a suspicion that if he had it to do over again, or if you asked him, he would probably agree.
Yeah, he would probably manage it differently.
Yeah.
Right.
And all of that said, like, he has not like he has not been put in a position to succeed at all. Like
Right.
that caveat still 100% applies, but he also has not risen to the occasion.
He has
And
not shown the ability to organize this team in a way that he wants them to play and
how does he
exude
want him
that.
to play?
Exactly. That's the
Right.
point, right? That's the point.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is more of a like we've talked about this
Yep.
plenty of
Yep.
times, so we don't need to reiterate all of it. And because of that, it's hard for me to take him seriously as the head coach of a team being led by a guy that they put this much time and energy into hiring.
Yeah. And if it's hard for you to take him seriously, that means it's almost certainly hard for professional soccer players to take him seriously. And so that doesn't mean they don't like him, right? Because he seems like a very likable person, and even
I love the guy. He's
right.
awesome. Like,
And the vibes still seem
we have to
good,
be able to
but
separate those two things. We have to be able to
100%,
separate, is
100%.
this a good dude versus is this a guy equipped to
Yeah.
be the head coach of this team? Like,
Yeah.
we have to be able to separate those two things.
The answer is yes and no.
Kyrie Shelton is the nicest and awesomest dude. I love that guy. He is great. Like, he really is like the nicest and awesomest dude
my
on earth. He was fucking terrible on Saturday.
That is being kind. Being fucking terrible, that's being kind, because he was just like,
and he will I promise you, he's not dumb enough to not recognize that he was fucking terrible in that game.
it's like
he would admit it, but also, like, being nice and admitting that you're fucking terrible doesn't mean that you should get the opportunity to do that again.
right. That was that his performance was like quiet quitting, but on the soccer field. It was ridiculous.
I don't think it was quiet quitting. I just think it's just a level of just right winger playing right back.
Okay.
And just having completely zero awareness.
It looked like zero gives a fuck. That's what it looked like. Just kind of just out there.
I mean, like I said, I like Kyrie. He's a nice dude. I'm not gonna. I don't, for whatever reason, I have a soft enough spot for him that I'm not gonna. I do not believe he's a person who would literally give up.
So look, like you can still be a nice person, and if you pretty much know that your time, at your job is done, and you're working one of your last shifts, you're not gonna go in there and bust your ass. Right?
It's a fair point.
That's not an indictment of you as a person.
I know what I did the last 2 weeks in that job, right. So. Granted, that was not a good job, but still, yeah.
Well,
I hear
do you think Shelton has a good job? You think he's out there having a good time? No. So yeah,
fair.
He was not into it. That's okay. It's just more data confirming our suspicion. So
we've migrated to the point where we are going to recognize the fact that Sporting Kansas City did play a game last weekend.
We've
avoided it as long as we possibly can.
They attended a game. There wasn't a playing going on.
Jovic was up for this game.
Well, so sure he was.
I thought this was interesting because this is the most I've seen Jovic run around in several months, which shows that there is a guy in there that can be fairly active if he actually gives a shit. I understand why he hasn't given much of a shit up until now. This team sucks. Don't wear yourself out, get an injury, do whatever. Just keep scoring goals, and maybe in the offseason he gets some $15 million offer to Europe. I don't know, but he was up for it. He was up for it. He was gonna get his goal, and he did. And that was really the only positive for Sporting in this game. Ian James. Let me put it this way: Ian James starts in this game. He was probably the most active center back, like positively active center back I can remember for this team this year. Jansen Miller's active in a very chaotic way. James was having to cut out transition events on his own for most of the first half, and was not perfect at it, but way better than I expected any 17-year-old to be at it. He wasn't perfect by any means. He's a 17-year-old playing professional, first team professional minutes. There were obviously errors, but I was pretty happy with how he did, all things considered, like what he was having to deal with, especially giving Kyrie Shelton's want to just be nowhere. Like, he had no right back partner.
No.
So like
He had a traffic cone for a right back. It was yeesh.
and still cut out a number of he was 1v1 with Paintsville
Yeah.
several times and tackled the ball away or pushed him out of bounds or did a variety. I mean, for a 17-year-old center back, I thought that was decent. And maybe this is my bias with James showing, but I thought he was decent.
I mean, I think you are kind of a James Stan, which is fine. But I think that the thing that I appreciate about him is he doesn't stop. Like, he doesn't quit on plays ever. He is like even and that's been a problem with the rest of the players on this back line all season long, is that when somebody gets beat, they just stand there with their thumb up their ass and watch the ball go in the goal. And James never does that. He always works, and that that goes a long way towards being a successful football player. If you keep working, especially as a defender, if you don't give up on plays, then you're going to be successful. And I think that he has a long successful career in front of him because of that. That's the ability to not quit and not give up on plays and not just stand there and ball watch. That is a skill unto itself. It's hard to coach that into players, and so that's definitely something to build on with him.
Well, and especially since we've had such a revolving door of center backs that get beat and stay beat.
Yeah. It stands out when you see a player who doesn't do that.
Turns around and actually tries to recover.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why Manu Garcia stands out so much when he gets on the field. It's like, oh my gosh, a player who can make a turn in traffic and like make a progressive pass. It's amazing.
It's weird.
It's like magic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Additionally, Stephen Afrifa started in this game, which brought back the Stephen Afrifa discourse. So I don't want to be dismissive.
I don't think he's any worse than Shoppy. I don't think he's any better than Shoppy. I think they're both terrible in different ways. I think that
and Shoppy costs a lot more. So like right. I mean, comparatively to salary or salary budget spend, I can sort of understand why you're like, okay, well, Afrifa is making 1/9 of what Shoppy is. So let's play Afrifa more.
I am way more interested in a great version of an Afrifa type player than I am in a great version of a Shoppy type player, if that makes sense.
I would agree with that, but Afrifa is not a great version of an Afrifa type player.
Well, and Shoppy's not a great version of a Shoppy.
He's a poor version of an Afrifa type player. So
they're both bad.
But Afrifa looks interesting because he tries to dribble guys, but he's also a fucking turnover machine. And on this team, it's really bad to turn over the ball all the time. Well, they're so bad in defensive transition. Like, it's really bad for him to turn over the ball all the time.
You're playing on Paintsville's side, and you have Stephen Afrifa at wing, and you have Kyrie Shelton at right back, and you have a 17-year-old at right center back. I mean, what the fuck, man? Like that's just a recipe for disaster. And I don't think that Shoppy would have done any better necessarily, but I mean, just think about that. It is like there was no chance that Sporting was going to be successful with those three players going up against that player. Like, he scored a hat trick, and like you would expect him to going up against that. Right.
In the first half, he
right.
A hat trick.
Right. Oh my goodness.
It was and he should have scored again. I think that it was. I think Joe said it on TSS. Sporting made 2025 LA Galaxy look like 2024 LA Galaxy. I think Afrifa is whatever. He's different. He tries shit, but he turns over the ball so much, and it reminded me also of how much Zoran Basong turned the ball over in this game.
Yeah,
the man has never seen a progressive pass that he can't hit to the opponent. Like, I just
there was a time early in the season when it looked like maybe there was a player, maybe a starting quality midfielder to sort of develop there coming along, but I think that ship has sailed, and that's common with a lot of players who it
has sailed all the way to China, like it is gone.
When players, that's why we talk about players who can, like, they're good for for some spot starts. They're a good substitute, but you don't want them having a run of games because having a run of games at a position really sort of exposes their weaknesses because other teams see film of them. They know how to plan for them, and their shortcomings get amplified. And we're at that point now with Basong, where like at this point, like it's almost all shortcomings that you see out there. The things that he does well are not making an impact if he's doing them, and really the things that are standing out are just all negative. And that's what you would expect from a player of his profile who makes what he makes. I mean, he is, he is what we thought he was. He's not making the big jump, and that's okay. He's still a potentially useful player, but he is definitely absolutely not a starting quality player at either center, midfield, or at left back. So if you want to bring him for vibes and as a substitute and as a good useful player who can play a couple of different positions and give you some good ball winning, and then fine. But otherwise, no.
My position is clear on Basong. If he's on the supplemental roster and he's the backup left back, whatever.
Yep. There
Fine.
you go. Yep.
Otherwise, I don't see the point. When it comes to Afrifa, I think your point about teams seeing a player, being able to scheme against a player and whatnot is very valid because Shoppy was reasonably successful for the first couple months he was in the league.
Yep.
Once everybody figured out he had no right foot,
Right.
they negated him pretty quickly. Once they figured out that he cannot beat anyone with speed, they negated him pretty quickly. If someone made the comment on the Discord, I think it might have been Austin, it might have been someone else, that if Afrifa had the same run of games as Shoppy, he'd have the same level of production. I was like, I don't believe it. I think maybe he might, but the same thing would happen as has happened to Shoppy. They'd figure out what all of his weaknesses are and exploit them. And he's just like, he's not that good.
No.
Like, we have to stop acting like Stephen Afrifa is a good player.
No.
He is. I understand when you're saying, like, compared to Shoppy, there's a little bit of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Right.
I will agree with you there. And comparatively to salary budget, that is a problem.
Yep.
100%. Will wholeheartedly submit that is a problem. But acting like Stephen Afrifa is actually better over a run of 6 games than Shoppy is
about
disingenuous.
Everything about Afrifa screams USL player. Like he's not an MLS quality player, period. He's just not.
And at least Shoppy is somewhat ball secure and plays defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like how he goes backwards all the time.
Yeah. I don't like how he plays defense either,
but it's still better than Afrifa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, there's I don't want to get into this argument anymore.
Right,
we are arguing about the dumbest shit on this roster right now. We are like so
we're not even arguing. We're on the same page.
We're on the same page. Like we're in here like parsing the difference between Shoppy Suleimanov and Stephen Afrifa, and I'm just like, this is so far down the list of like terrible shit that is happening with this team that like I'm just like, bro, we got to move on. We got to move on to something else. So let's move on to Potpourri. Just like your favorite Jeopardy category, this is where we discuss a few topics in and around the sporting Kansas City Alma soccer sphere. Good soccer teams in Kansas City continue to be good.
Yep.
The Kansas City Current destroys Chicago while sort of just rotating. Just kind of, Vlaco's doing some rotation. He's just sort of moving. Apparently, you can't get Temple out of the starting lineup. She just will not allow it. She's got Lionel Messi levels of like, you're going to put me in. But, of course, scores in this game, but also they score several other goals. There was a lot of different kind of stuff happening in this one. The main thing was they finally gave up a goal. It seems unclear if it was 869 minutes or 870 minutes is the total shutout streak, but they did give up a goal
it's a
somewhere.
Long time.
Yeah, it's a long fucking time.
Whatever.
Dude.
Either way, it's a long
It's over
time.
9 games.
Yeah.
Over 9 games that they did before they gave up a goal. They finally gave one up. Got a 4-1 win and continue to just extend their lead at the top of the league, even though they've already won the Shield. Like I said, all they're going for now is glory when it comes to that. Also trying to maintain some sharpness going into the playoffs. But I mean, I don't even know what to say about him at this point. The superlatives have run out.
No, there's nothing you could say other than if you haven't gone to a game, go to a game.
Go to a game
Right,
for
go to a game
sure.
because
It's
it's
super
fun
fun.
and it's a
And
nice palate cleanse after going to one
if you
Kansas
have
City
been going to
games.
Sporting Kansas City games and you have not gone to a current game, please,
Yeah,
please, please go to a current game. And they're not like every game quote unquote is a sellout, but there are seats available on
sure there
SeatGeek,
are. Yep,
and you can go watch for a reasonable amount of money. And it's a fun spot
yep,
downtown on the river and whatnot, and it's a cool vibe. It's always a cool vibe with as good as this team is.
yeah.
I agree with you. Go see a game. Um, LAFC continues to absolutely bulldoze the league and St. Louis City this weekend, which was fantastic for yours
Yes, we
truly.
like seeing that.
My guy Sun Hung Min gets a brace, almost a Hattie, against St. Louis in St. Louis. You love to see it. I think maybe Joe said this on TSS or somebody else said it. Like if I'm an MLS team going in the
Yeah,
playoffs,
he said it there. Yep, terrifying.
this is a terrifying team to come up against right now.
Yep. Yeah,
I
we
agree with
know
him. I
we
agree
know
with him.
they're a defensively stout team. Like that's what they've sort of hung their head on with Cherundolo as coach, and now now that with Sun and Bwanga playing so well together, it's terrifying. It's like legitimately terrifying, and um, I think that there are a lot of other teams in the West who they're starting to fade a little bit, and I'm looking at like Vancouver and San Diego
Vancouver get Ryan Gauld back
and
tonight, by the way, which would be huge for
I
them if he
mean
can play.
I mean right, that's asking a lot for Ryan Gauld to get back to being Ryan Gauld in the next couple of weeks, which is
That's
really
fair.
what
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean LAFC are just scary, man. They are absolutely terrifying to play, and I don't think that even as deep as the East is, I don't think they have another team quite like that. Sure, Miami is scary in their own way because they have the greatest player of all time, but they also can't defend shit. And like
Did you did you
they're
see
de-
John Mueller like put his stuff up? Like John Muller's been running a thread on Blue Sky about how Miami doesn't transition defend. And so it's been a running joke he did for a while. There was one against Chicago last night where, and I actually watched this happen, so I'm glad he screenshotted it. Chicago had 3 players in Miami's half against one Miami defender
Oh
on a
my
break.
gosh. I mean, that's typical, right? Like that's no one who is paying attention is surprised by that at all. And the fact that Miami keeps doing it is like, okay, I guess you just think you're gonna
They got beat 5-3 at home
yeah,
by the Chicago Fire.
yeah. That's rough, man.
Who clinched their first playoff berth since 2017, by the way, during
I've
that
said
game.
this before, but maybe jettisoning all the young players and MLS veterans in favor of Messi's buddies, maybe that wasn't the best way
Oh my
to
God.
build your
Oscar Ustari
roster.
was so terrible in this game, man.
Yeah.
He was unbelievably
They
bad.
they had players that would help them, and they don't have those players any longer.
Yeah.
And it's all because of
Maybe
Messi
Mateus
and
Click was right. I'm
you
just
know,
saying. Maybe he
you
knew
know,
what he was talking about. If he was like,
maybe.
how would he know what's going on? I'm just saying. Just seems like maybe he wasn't quite so far off base.
Yeah.
Because of that loss, it looks like the Philadelphia Union are probably going to win the Supporter Shield.
Yeah.
And for
Really
me, I really couldn't care less about the Union winning. I just love that it is
Yes.
former St. Louis City coach.
Yes.
It is for after being unceremoniously jettisoned after winning Coach of the Year. Bradley
Yeah.
Carnell wins Coach of the Year in St. Louis. 4 months later, Lutz Pfannenstiel, again, who probably gets fucking high as a kite off his own farts, fires him and sends him on. And Philly hires him. And hey, look. And I've heard from St. Louis fans, oh, it had just become untenable in the locker room and all this other bullshit. I'm like, well,
Whose
bro.
fault is that?
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, the Schadenfreude is just amazing with this situation. I love it. I love it so much. Like I said, I mean, good for the Philly fans. I mean, there are some Philly Union fans that I like and are cool, and I'd love to see them be able to get the supporter shield. But for me, it's more the St. Louis Schadenfreude. That's what I'm.
The nice
here
thing
for.
is that it doesn't, until this is the show me state, right? And until we're showing otherwise, we can expect this level of Schadenfreude from St. Louis because they just appear to be a poorly run club in all aspects, and it's great. It really is wonderful.
Especially when our club comes out this week and looks
Right.
really professional and hires a great candidate. They're melting down. Did you see it?
Yeah,
On social
I did.
media, they're melting down over the fact that we did a good thing.
It's glorious.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
glorious.
Ian James left off the U17 camp roster. Not great.
Okay. It doesn't make any difference for anything. It's like it sucks for him because
He's probably going to get left off the World Cup though. Like if he's not in this camp,
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just the U17. It's not the end of the world. There are plenty of great players who are not on that team who are gonna have long, successful club careers and probably careers with the full national team. And so it's not the end of the world. It sucks, but it's not the end of the world.
Sometimes coaches rate different players. I'm not going to get too wrapped around the axle of a U17 U.S. youth national team coach rating some guys who have barely played for their second team over Ian James. I can't do it. There's just it's dumb. I'm getting too far wrapped around the axle at that point.
Yep.
Other youth national team news: the U20s dominated New Caledonia.
Yay. Kremoski, man.
Kremoski had a hattie, right?
Yeah.
They beat them 9-1.
It'd be great if you could have a player like that on your team to spell your aging veterans and eat minutes and run around and
instead of loaning them to Parma instead, just because.
Who knows?
Anyway, all right. U.S. Open Cup final is ongoing as we record this. It is halftime in Austin. It is 1-1. Hani Mukhtar has a goal, and it looks like Uzuni got one in first half stoppage time to equalize. So, do you have any thoughts about the Open Cup final? Somebody new is going to win it. It's going to be a new team winning it.
I'm really impressed with what Nashville has been able to do this year. I am not impressed with Austin, and
Austin is a very Arsenal-ish team.
So I'm rooting for Nashville, even though I highly recommend anybody, if you have the chance to go to a game in Austin, do it because it's a really fun time. I've not had the chance to go to Nashville yet, but I will. But
both have really cool stadiums and really cool parts of town.
Absolutely.
So I would say, the environment is good. It's just that Austin plays dreadful soccer.
They do. Nashville used to, but they don't anymore.
They don't anymore. They have BJ Callahan. They play fun soccer. So and so does Chicago Fire under Greg Berhalter. That's the other thing. Chicago Fire have not made the playoffs since 2017. They hired Greg Berhalter to make the playoffs. I'm just saying, maybe this guy doesn't suck. I'm just saying.
He doesn't suck.
He's actually a really good soccer coach.
He is.
I think two things can be true. I think it was time for him to leave the U.S. men's national team job, and it wasn't because he's a bad coach.
Yeah, I'm a one cycle believer. I'm a one cycle truther for sure.
Well, after all the shit with Gio,
yeah,
it was just time to
very obviously
reset, bro. Reset.
Yep.
All right, one thing to look for this week: Sporting Kansas City heads to Minnesota.
Did we have to watch?
I mean,
I will watch. I'm just joking.
Will you watch? You didn't watch the LA game until Sunday.
Yeah, I know. I know.
You didn't even watch all of it.
I was having family time. I was watching a movie with my family, so I made the right choice.
I mean, you did make the right choice.
If
I will say that I think Zach mentioned it in the Discord during the game. We had like 30 people like back and forthing in the
Yeah.
live game action chat during the game, which is saying something. Like it's 11 p.m. on a Saturday. Our team sucks. It's terrible. Is getting blown out by LA,
Yep.
and there's still 30 of us going back and forth about the team. I think you know either we need to go see therapy as opposed to
No, man,
being absorbed by this team. No, I'm
that
making a
is
joke.
that is why we made the Discord, right? Because
Right.
Twitter was not a space that that we wanted to have that kind of stuff happening anymore, and that's one thing that I think that we all appreciated about early Twitter, and so that's entirely why we did it, is to have a place where we could all meet together and discuss the team, and it's awesome. And I appreciate the Discord so much. I don't interact on it as much as maybe I would like, but I always check in on the conversations going on, and I always appreciate it that it exists as a forum and a place for Sporting Kansas City fans to talk, even about food, or Northern Lights or the Milky Way, or whatever we're talking
Whatever
about,
David Avery's
birds,
taking pictures of in
right,
Maine. Yeah.
whatever. It's great, and I think that that's great too, is that it also serves as a place for people who don't live all in Kansas City to sort of meet up and talk about the team. So if you don't go to the Discord, please do, because it's a positive and objectively smart place to hang out and talk about soccer.
It's a fun time. Links in the show notes, so go check it out. So anyway, heading to Minnesota. I don't know. I mean, Minnesota is a team who very much knows who they are and operates in the way that they are. Sporting Kansas City is not that. So who knows? Shabi Suleimanov is going to be suspended because he got that red card. So more Steven Afrifa experience.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just like
being a turnover machine against Minnesota is probably not ideal.
That is not at all ideal.
We'll see if his ball security improves. Something tells me probably not.
Probably not. At this stage in the season, and frankly, in his career, the chances are pretty low.
I appreciate his optimism that he thinks he can dribble through those guys, but his success rate is not at the level that you probably would hope for.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, this is probably the least likely game of the last two that they would get points from. But we probably want some points to sort of elevate past wooden spoon conversation.
Yes. And if we can elevate past the team to the east, that would be even better. So
yeah, I've sort of given up on that being a possibility, but I'd like it to happen, but I don't know that that's likely to happen. Thankfully, there's a team much further east in our nation's capital who is so fucking bad that I think even if they lose all their games, they might still not win the spoon. But we'll see. We'll see. I think the home game against Houston is probably going to be a meaningless game to both teams.
Yeah.
So perhaps that might be the one to get some points to finish out the season and in front of the new chief soccer officer, because he will not be in role this weekend. Well, I don't know. Is his last day? I don't know when his last day is. That does have something to do with why it's taken so long for the announcement, by the way. If you consider the fact that he is in a role and has to provide appropriate notice and all that has a lot to do with why it took a little bit extra time for the announcement to be made. I think Monday's his first day on the job. So,
all right,
we'll hear more from him at that point, and you will hear more from us after his conversation introduction and conversation with the press. And until then, I'm Drew. He's Cody. We will talk to y'all next week.
Go Sporting.